I remember the silence first, not the laughter, not the engine revving, not even the door slamming shut. Those came earlier. What stayed with me was the quiet that followed the dust when the car pulled away. Heat in the desert doesn't arrive like pain. It spreads slowly, the way water seeps into cloth. At first, it's only brightness, then the air thickens. Then the ground begins pushing warmth up through the soles of your shoes until your whole body understands where you are. I stood there for a moment longer than I should have. My sister leaned out the window just before they drove off, still smiling. "Take a nice walk and relax." The car had already started rolling. "It'll be good exercise." Then the wind took her voice away. I was 6 months pregnant. The road stretched in both directions, thin and pale against the sand. The car shrank into the distance until it became another shimmer in the heat. Then it disappeared entirely. For a while I kept expecting it to come back. You learn strange patience when you grow up in a family where your discomfort is treated like exaggeration. My parents had a way of dismissing things, pain, fear, embarrassment, as if they were minor inconveniences you should solve privately. When I twisted my ankle at 13, my mother said I was dramatic. When I fainted during a school assembly, my father said I hadn't eaten enough. When I told them the pregnancy was making me dizzy in the heat, my sister laughed. So I waited. 5 minutes, 10. The desert remained exactly the same. Eventually my body made the decision my mind hadn't yet accepted. I started walking. Pregnancy changes how you move. Every step feels negotiated with something deeper inside you. My back ached before the first mile passed. I shifted the small bottle of water between my hands and watched the road instead of the horizon. Looking too far ahead made the distance feel impossible. I thought about the baby more than I thought about them. The baby didn't know what abandonment meant. It only knew rhythm, heartbeat, breath, movement. My job suddenly was very simple. Keep both of us upright. Hours passed without ceremony. The sun climbed higher. I rested when the dizziness came, sitting beside rocks that cast shadows no wider than my arm. Fear didn't arrive like panic. It arrived like arithmetic. How much water was left? How long before sunset? Whether anyone used this road regularly? A few times I imagined the car returning, my sister leaning out again, laughing at the joke that had gone too far. But the desert has a way of stripping imagination down to what actually exists: wind, heat, road. At some point in the afternoon, the sound of an engine reached me. It wasn't fast. It wasn't distant. It was approaching. I stopped walking. The vehicle appeared over a rise-white, angular official. A Border Patrol truck rolled toward me, slowing before it reached the shoulder. The door opened. The officer stepped out, one hand resting near the radio on his chest. His eyes moved quickly over the scene, the road, the empty desert behind me, my stomach. "How long have you been out here?" His voice was calm, not alarmed, not accusing, just direct. I tried to answer, but my throat was dry enough that the first words barely formed. He walked back to the truck and returned with a bottle of water before asking again. I drank slowly. "Several hours," I said. He nodded once and gestured toward the truck. "Sit down for a minute." It wasn't a suggestion. I sat on the edge of the open passenger door while he spoke quietly into the radio. The words were procedural location coordinates, medical concern, pregnant female found walking alone. The shift in the moment was almost invisible, but it was absolute. What had happened was no longer private. He asked my name, where I started walking, how I ended up there. I answered plainly. "My family dropped me off." He looked up briefly. "Dropped you off?" I nodded. He didn't comment. He wrote something in a small notebook. Within 30 minutes, another vehicle arrived. Then an ambulance. The paramedic pressed a monitor against my stomach. The small rhythmic thump of the baby's heartbeat filled the air like a quiet drum. "Strong," she said. That word felt heavier than it should have. They drove me to the nearest hospital. The room was cool, bright, clean. Nurses moved in small, efficient patterns. Blood pressure cuffs, IV fluids, soft instructions to rest. No one suggested I was exaggerating. Late that evening, while a television murmured quietly in the corner of the room, a local news segment interrupted the regular programming. A brief report. A pregnant woman rescued from a remote desert road after being found walking alone in extreme heat. Authorities investigating how she arrived there. A still photograph appeared taken outside the ambulance. My face looked smaller than it felt. Somewhere, I realized, my family might be watching the same broadcast. The recognition would come slowly. The road description, the timing, the face. But the report didn't speculate. It didn't accuse. It simply existed. Facts tend to do their own work. Later that night, the same officer from the desert appeared at the doorway with another small notebook. "Just a couple follow-up questions," he said. His tone hadn't changed. New trill. Steady. He asked about the car. The route. The last conversation before they drove away. I answered. Again he wrote things down. When he left, the room felt quieter than before. A nurse returned to check the fetal monitor. The steady heartbeat filled the air again, patient and unbothered by the day's events. I leaned back into the pillows. For the first time since the car disappeared, I allowed my eyes to close. Somewhere beyond the hospital walls, the desert was cooling under the evening sky. Somewhere else, consequences were beginning their slow, complicated movement. I didn't feel victorious. Mostly, I felt tired. But something inside me had shifted, something quiet and solid. I hadn't exposed them. I hadn't fought them. I had simply walked long enough for the world to notice. The nurse adjusted the monitor one last time. The heartbeat continued, steady as breath.